when our family falls into decline. I just want it to be perfectly clear why. It's because Hyun's son are the biggest collection of idiots on the entire ship. Father says there are sorts of words shouldn't be written down, these things, but calling them on but I'm skeptical. I intend no disrespect to my noble ancestors, but my dead uncle is no ancestor of mine, and his family deserves no respect. Honey, don't work that way. This has been in motion for years now. It was an inevitability, even that any sons of Hyun would turn out the way they did. But up until now, to anyone outside the family, it's been well hidden. Only now it's starting to fall apart in a way that no amount of good politics can disguise. The turning point was this year. At the time I write this, I am returning from Sang-jung's family. Funeral. In the family.
Funeral and family are the same thing.
It's the exact same thing. There was family in the funeral. It was bad. In that family, there were 3 brothers, Sang-jung, the drunk, Sang-kyu, the dim-witted brute, and Sang-min, who, despite being the eldest, seemed to have the interest in cartboarding with the courtesans, then creating an error. He sleeps around. Noticeably absent from the mourning process was Sang-kyu. What he was doing, I don't know. Knowing him, I can only guess. He was destroying the ship. The affair was made even more laughable by Sang-min, his widowed mother's insistence that Sang-jung had died of natural causes. Apparently, he'd even found a doctor willing to put such nonsense on official record. An unmarried noble managing to drink his way into the grave at only 30 years of age would be embarrassing enough. To brazenly trying to hide the obvious, however, that will mark the beginning of the Smith family's fall. You have comment.
So here's the background, I suppose. There are 2 major noble families on the I can still pronounce this.
Mungahwana, blah blah.
Muganghwa. The Kims were the big one, as I'm sure you can see. The Smiths were the other major family, but I'm afraid I can't tell you very much about them. They were the most important family on the ship until just before the end. The High Magistrate was a Smith until the very last year, even. I can give you a little about them for reference, so you can see who the Kim men thought their big enemy was.
You got it.
The Smiths didn't really matter very much at the end, so I don't know much about them. I certainly never met any of them, so I'm just going off what I've read. Here, this should give you an idea of what I mean.
We already read that, honey, but thank you. I appreciate the effort. Oh wow, she gave me more stuff in here.
Yep.
Contempt. Despite having hardly shown their faces in the entire time I've lived in the Smith's house, the second branch of the family has taken it upon themselves to visit again, a week after we forced to endure their smug eye-rolling at the funeral. Of course, it would be impolite to turn away at the door, no matter how poor taste their timing was, so what other choice do we have but to let them in? Husband wanted to have nothing to do with them, being distracted by Jang Mi, and mother-in-law had been hiding in her room, leaving it to me to entertain them. Wow, that's very personal phrasing. Next page. Of course, as soon as I sent their son to go see our daughter, cousin-in-law Kyung Sam made it quite clear that it was not the sort of visit. Oh, his wife just sat there silent while he ripped into me. I couldn't write down all his words. It was simply one line of abuse after another. Apparently, we were to blame for Sang-kyu leaving before they showed up, for wearing the wrong mourning garb, for my husband's shock reaction to his brother's death. In fact, we were to be blamed for his death itself. All he kept shouting about was how embarrassing for the family it was that a noble man of the Smith house been allowed to drink himself to death. As if the real tragedy was that it looked bad. I might not have felt bad about Sang-jung dying, but the rest of the family did. To hear such words making light of their loss was appalling. Yet he kept going, shouting awful things after awful things, until finally the most unexpected thing happened. Mother-in-law entered the room. What is going on here? She asked. He stood up. I was just passing on a message to Sun's wife about the disgraceful conduct, since he won't show his face himself. Then he added, I'm embarrassed to be a Smith right now. Do you think people don't know about our family's shame? Do you have any idea how much of a fool I look like? I never saw a more terrifying expression in someone's face. She just glared at him. Finally, she said, yes, but you clearly do not, or you would have lowered your voice. It took him a moment for that to register, that he was just shocked. But mother-in-law wasn't done. Please leave, she said, now. They stared at each other for a good while. Mother-in-law naturally won, and with a scowl, Kyung-sam and his family departed. When they left, I turned to her. Thank you, I said, but she just shook her head in disgust and exited to her own room without another word.
Sorry, I don't really think there's anything else about them you'd find relevant.
Okay, so she doesn't respond to individual documents. Good to know. And then this thing. Wait, did she add something else after I did that?
No, that was there.
Okay, I just didn't notice it, because it was at the bottom. Yep. By example, Smith Kyung-sam, I've given up on any attempts at convincing the main branch of the family to get their act together, as clearly speaking reason to any of that pack of idiots is a fool's errand. Hey, pack of idiots! Now I can only hope that their self-destruction is quick, such that when it's my son's turn to pick up the pieces of the Smith's name reputation, he will be able to do it as soon as possible. He seems far, far less worried about it than I am. Of course, he is only a child, but the boy is mature for his years, and perhaps this wind is dim in his calmness. All we have to do is be better than them, right? He asked me while I was raging about the handling of the funeral. Isn't that what gentlemen do? Lead by example? He is right, of course. As a noble family, we're supposed to be an example to the middle classes and the commoners and the slaves. Perhaps so too must we serve as an example to the house of the High Magistrate and his brother. Perhaps things will not be so doomed for my son after all. It will be hard for him, of course, if the main branch family continues on its path of decay. But if any boy will grow up to be able to put things right, I believe it's him. Aww. Here comes the fall. Alright, year 322, huh? Smith Kyung-sam, here comes the fall. At least nobody's going to say I didn't see this coming. News that Sang Ming has gotten sacked just came in, which is definitely the death of any respectability in his family. Temporary leave has been described as, but it's obviously a political move to get on the part of the Emperor. I think I've got a pretty good idea what he's playing at, too. He's hoping that making a move against Sang Min will push him over the edge, make him do something offensively stupid, and use that as an excuse to shuffle him off for good. It's a good plan. It'll work. Meanwhile, the Kim family seems to be up on the rise, getting ready to fill the gaps left by our collapse. Now it's all up to my son. If he's not able to rebuild after all of this, even the whole family is doomed to permanent decline. Everything rides on him. That kid.
You know, I've never really gotten family politics.
Yeah, it's so silly. Alright, block 6. I'm gonna guess these things don't actually go in order. So. You.
We already read that one.
I know, but I'm getting her.
Written by Mute. Whoops, I'm sorry. I don't really know how I got that in there. Yeah, don't pay any attention to that. Sorry, none of that really matters. I'll just go ahead and remove that.
Aw, you have a friend named Mute.
Really, I'm not normally this much of a klutz, I swear. And block 9. The new era. This is 316, so this is before that last one we read, the decline. Yep.
Alright, Kim Myung-seok. Do you want to read this one?
Sure. When he died this year, my father was an absolute nobody.
Nobody.
I don't say this to disrespect his honor. It's the complete opposite. He knew it, and that was a far worse fate than he ever deserved. It wasn't until I was maybe 16 that I even realized we were supposed...
Ah!
What should you do that for?
Nothing!
Okay.
I forgot what it did!
never realized we were supposed to be from a noble family. Certainly we never had much of means. Father was a minor official in the interior decks and spent his last days dealing with minor peasant disputes. Of all things, peasant disputes. With the poverty we lived in, no wonder it never really sank in that we were of noble blood, not until I met the main family for the first time. They were proud, despite the fact that I now realize that they too were suffering from our same lack of royal favor. But I could tell the difference. They hadn't given up. Their son was still alive at that time, and even though he was a child half my age, I couldn't believe his confidence. It put us to shame. Absolutely put us to shame. But their son died later that year, and my father died just a few months ago. I didn't know that what we were going to do. But mother managed to convince sister's husband to adopt me into the main Kim family. I don't think it took much. I love how they address this husband, mother.
Yeah, it's so personal.
Sister's husband, not even brother-in-law, sister's husband.
Yep.
So now I'm heir, just like that. Kim Jong-soo's adopted son.
I thought this was a woman. My mistake.
Well, males aren't heirs.
I know.
I mean,
Females aren't heirs, I know. But it started, he's like, now I'm the adopted son. I was like, I thought this was a woman until that line.
Oh, okay. Not that I have the time or position to be proud, but having spoken sincerely with my new father, I think we're on the same page. I'm going to study furiously, and I'm going to become a scholar official. But what I didn't tell him was my ambition. I won't settle for any peasant jobs. I'll be better than that. I'm not going to stop until I manage to fulfill my father's dream. High magistrate. I won't settle. I will not settle. I think Jong-soo expects me to disappoint him, but I damn well will not.
Yeah.
If I'm the heir of the Kim family, I'm not going to let him down. He wants prosperity, I'll give it to him. More importantly, I'm never going to let any other Kim son feel his family doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Never again. I swear my ancestors, never again.
Yeah!
Well, I suppose I can give you more about Young-seok. I don't know. I don't think you'll really find him very interesting, but here, you can see for yourself.
And Black Tobacco 9. New friendship, new happy state, blah 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 blah. Let's see. Oh, Neoseek has a wife now. I'll do the honors of reading this one. Dearest mother, finally, I believe Young-sik has grown comfortable with me. All it took was some time for me to earn his trust. Learning how to read by watching over my husband's shoulders and how I envision spending my first year of marriage. I can't complain about anything that makes me spend so much time with him, though. We've talked and decided we won't try for his son right away. Right now, he's just not ready for it. That aside, things are good. If this is what married life is like, I think I can be happy with this. We're getting along well, and I like him. Perhaps it's not what I was led to expect, but it's still good. Domestic bliss indeed. Oh, last week, young Neon-sik was reading over some papers for a dispute the Magistrate Park was deciding on. You couldn't understand the details, but it was essentially an argument between a farmer and his lord over some money after a particular poor harvest. I think I will tell the magistrate that this farmer is right. His claim is fair, he told me. Might I take a look, I asked. Bemused, he handed the papers to me. It took a good while of studying, just to be sure. After all, I wouldn't want to contradict my husband if he was right, but the farmer's numbers didn't seem to add up. I pointed this out to them. He only listened partially, but had to me explain. Then you believe the farmer...
Listen patiently, not partially.
Patiently and partially. Then you believe the farmer is trying to cheat us, Lord, he asked. I did. That's what I report then. The next day he told me the magistrate agreed. And ever since then, he has started to rely on me and my opinion when it comes to anything involving math. 'Cause I'm brilliant! Flawless!
Did she have anything to say?
On this one, on the wife?
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything about the wife?
To be totally honest with you, I don't really know what she's talking about here at all.
Oh, so she does talk to individual things.
The mad thing wasn't really considered very odd at the time. That's woman's work. It's just natural. Maybe it's a little weird that she's helping with external matters, but, well, it's not that weird. The part about learning to read isn't that amazing either. It might have been officially frowned upon, but learning to read by looking over a brother or husband's shoulder was really, really common. She's making a big deal out of nothing. Well, I guess that's a 15-year-old woman for you.
15-year-old woman. Hot dang. I am incredibly womanly now. New friendship.
Who's gonna read this one?
Kim Young-suk. Wasn't that... Yeah, that's you.
Okay. And then you can read the next one after that.
Yeah.
While it's true that I might be, as my wife suggests, alarmingly serious, it's hard to argue with enjoying a nice meal out if it means cultivating Magistrate Park's trust even more. Just having the invitation is a pretty good sign. I assumed we would be going to his house after finishing with the day's affairs, but instead he led the other way. Oh, you do not want to visit there. My son was a newborn child who was very, very unconducive.
Has a newborn.
Yeah.
He is not a newborn. That would be incredibly awkward. He'd be a baby having a baby with a baby.
My son has a newborn child who is very, very unconducive to entertaining guests. I'm afraid, he said with a laugh. Surely you'll understand. Instead, we headed to the plaza. Outside the occasional New Year's festivals, when I was a child, I had never actually been there before. I never had much of an eye for details at the time, so I was surprised to see now just how richly decorated everything was for what was essentially a giant market. Beautiful floral arrangements adorned every stall, wall, and partition, and rather than the commotion of a crowd, all I could hear was the sound of peaceful music. It was still, of course, a market. There were no merchants loudly hawking wares, and some of the prices on the signs I saw would make the emperor blush. In that atmosphere, we ate together at a public house that defied my expectations. The food was both plentiful and far better than anything I'd ever had in either of my houses. If this sounds indulgent, it absolutely is, and I definitely don't plan on telling anyone the details like this. The only thing I plan to repeat from this evening is that the magistrate confided in me that when he was moved from his position, he'd like to recommend me to fill his place. I'd be young for the position, but it would be a great stepping stone to the one I'm dreaming of. I remained calm, since I'm good at that, but it's the best news I've heard in my life.
That's kind of a little weird.
Yes. The plaza sounds like a really interesting place, doesn't it? I mean, I wouldn't really know personally.
Aw, poor honey.
But as I understand it, it was the big place for celebrating festivals. And really surprising to see. You'd leave one of the few tiny modern stark white corridors that led to it, then suddenly there was this huge open space filled with all sorts of colorful signs and vendors.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I think proper gentlemen were supposed to be more modest, though, so they wouldn't really want to associate with that sort of thing too openly.
But they did. They did. I feel like it should kind of, like, pop out of there before, like, instead of making us have to do it. But I understand. Ahem. Dearest mother, if you haven't already had the good news, my husband has been appointed by the Emperor to the position of magistrate. He's taken over the office of Magistrate Park starting today, which is just tremendous for a man his age. I have no doubt that he was perfectly humble when he got the news, since he certainly has been, well, talking about it in front of the father-in-law. In private, though, it's another story. Earlier, the family had a small feast to celebrate the news, but he had the same attitude then, too. But afterwards, when everyone else has gone or left to bed, we stayed up to sit together drinking wine. It was a whole lot more somber.
He wasn't modest, but he wasn't boastful either. He was just outright insecure. He might not say it in front of you, but you know what? He said to me as I poured him more wine. He takes all the credit for my poor motion. According to him, that's all because the Emperor's perfect new bride, which is, of course, all because of him. I said quietly, I don't want to take credit for her. I wasn't the one who got her shut up. That was all him. I don't like discussing it. Please, Mother, don't ask me why. Doesn't matter, he said. That's not why I got promoted. I got promoted because High Magistrate Park and I managed to make Smith look so bad he had to get shuffled off. It's exposing the whoring and thuggery that did it, not the damn pale bride, he said with annoyance. Well, that's how he is. You know he'll never give you credit for anything, I said. He replied, I know. I just wish he'd acknowledge it. I just don't know why he can be so stupid as to not be proud of me, you know. I know, I said, but let's not focus on that right now. I think we should focus on the good right now. How about we toast to your success instead? Here's to the new Magistrate Kim. I raised my glass and drank. He betrayed the faintest of smiles, but didn't really share my toast, and instead put his glass down. For a moment, I was worried, but then he used the hand to grab my chin instead, for the first time ever kissed me. All in the mouth, far sweeter than any wine, he said to me. I wasn't sure if he meant the kiss or the success, but I agreed either way.
Well, as you'll see soon enough, it all seems to come back to the pale bride. I don't think Kim Jong-soo ever thought very much of his adopted son, or at least neither he nor his wife thought so. You want to know what I think, though?
Yes.
I think they're both really dumb. I mean, it's not like she ever did anything. It's not her fault. She just happened to be there and was married as a political gesture. What kind of a person projects their insecurities onto someone who only ever just got pushed around? Sorry, I guess I'm getting a little bit off track here. That's not very helpful, is it?
It is.
Well, anyway, getting back on track here.
You're adorable, honey. We're just gonna talk, you and I.
Yeah. So you're about... Oh, whoa, sorry. You've heard that all already, right? I think I just repeated myself there. Sorry, I kind of tend to do that. That's the problem with computers. They tend to respond in the same way to things. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I can't help it. I won't mention it again, but, well, here, let me change something to try and make things less confusing for you. If the Speak to Me menu item or the Show Message button is grayed out, that means I have nothing new for you. Hopefully that will help. Otherwise, it's just a weird quirk you'll have to accept. Sorry.
That was adorable. I enjoyed that very much.
Really, that's just something you need to keep in mind when reading these logs. It was considered to be the natural way of things. Well, what do you think?
It is pretty stupid how it's the natural way of things.
Yeah. I know, right? Just absolutely terrible and stupid. But that was normal. So try to keep that in mind. That's what everyone really did believe. Even nearly all the women. And if that sounds terrible to you, well, you must come from an awfully nicer society.
I like to think I do. Although apparently I'm not social. Family tree. Honey, talk to me. I don't understand these things.
That's the end of the Kim family tree, as best as I could possibly manage to compile it. I'm afraid it's the best I could do. Ordinarily, women's names aren't ever put on genealogies, so I had trouble with those. I hope that helped you keep track of the family, though.
Okay, let's see. Who have we heard from? I think Young-Seek's father, Yo-Seek. The Pale Bride, we haven't actually read anything from her. And Jung-Soo's father, okay.
Did you have anything to say on the pronunciation?
Pronunciation. My pronunciation is flawless. I'm actually gonna do that. Go talk to these things. Go.
She does. Even if there's an error stopping me from understanding the word you type, I can tell by the packet data header that you're using English.
That I am.
I have no idea how much you know about the Korean language, but I thought, just in case, you might want some help with how to pronounce names and such. I hope that's sufficient enough.
It is. You're very helpful, honey.
I'm using it more than she is.
I think I might try and talk to Mute after this. Martial Admonitions? Part 7? Part 7?! Roger, wah! 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 To the woman who will marry my husband. But please, do not think that this is all meant to say you will be unloved. You may be a second wife, but you are still the daughter of a noble house, and that is a precious gift to the Rio family. My husband has faith that you will bring him a son, and this means all the world to him. Nor am I jealous, for you will be relieve a heavy burden on our house, and for that I am grateful. As proof of this affection for you, let me share with you one secret which I am permitted to tell you only. In the honor of you, my husband, in his capacity as captain and emperor, has permanently changed his admin password to your birth name. We can log into the administration! My new sister, you will be brought into the Rio family not as a mere lowly woman, but a symbol of power in the inner chambers. You will not only represent the continuation of the Rio bloodline by providing him a son, but your very name will represent the power of the captain's computer. Understand this, Pale Bride, your duty may be great, but you will be loved. Pale Bride, but I don't know her name.
There's a blinking thingy at the bottom. There's a blinking thingy at the bottom. Hey!
Hi.
I just want to say, thanks for paying attention to me.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's like I was saying earlier, I just haven't had anyone to talk to in so long. The last time there was anyone around on the ship was the year 322. By my count, it's now 944. I mean, do you have any idea how long that is?
622 years?
It wasn't really so bad at first. It was nice not to have to worry about anyone telling me what to do. I could just occupy myself, go through the old logs.
Peruse some books, get a cup of tea.
But, well, I read quickly. After the first few years, it really started to sink in. The loneliness.
And then Mute appeared.
Eventually, you sort of get used to it. It feels awful. You never like it, but you get used to it in ways that sort of scare you. There was a whole 100 years that went by where I didn't have a single thought. Not a one. I just sat there idle.
Aww.
I didn't even notice. Just, I had the feeling particularly, what's the word? Sleepy, I want to say. But that's not right. I guess maybe that doesn't translate.
It's okay, I understand.
Anyway, the point is, I was in a lazy mood and decided to call my clock sub-routine, and it turned out it had been 3 trillion milliseconds since the last time I called it. Scary.
Very scary.
Geez, I'm rambling. Sorry, as you can understand, my perception of time is all off. Sorry, I'll shut up.
It's okay.
But I'm really happy to have someone out there.
I'm happy to have you too. You're very helpful. Even if you make angry faces. Show me messages.
Of course, the last person to hold the titles Captain and Emperor on the ship was Ryu Inho.
Meh.
Which of Captain Ryu's wives do you wish to know more about?
The Pale Bride.
Very well. She wrote a lot, so this is going to be tricky to filter.
Oh.
I guess I'll just start at the top, and I'll let you figure out what's important. And then go figure out the other ones if you want.
You.
Which way? Very well. I don't have have much on her that I think you would find relevant, though. Let's see. Here, how about this?